Have you already seen through the identity of a separate self? Have you already seen that there is no self to be found other than psychological programs, patterns, and a sense of energy that has been given a name and is attached to story? Have you found anything in that you can find as an entity? Or have you seen that it's just held together by beliefs and energy that's wound itself up through repetitive programming and the thought of me? Have you seen through that? So sometimes seeing through that is called awakening. As if that's like an event. There's a before you saw through that when you're taking yourself to be that character. And then there's after that direct experience of seeing right through it that actually I can't find anything other than this, which is aware. There's nothing else that I can find other than this that is aware. And the moment before that and the moment after that, where things carry on, now seemingly the awakening of someone experiencing awakening in the same story. Have you seen through all of that? And yet, when it comes to relationships, all kinds of relationships, doesn't have to be your closest, but those are the ones where mostly it will take you right to where the unfinished business, the dirty laundry cannot be avoided to be noticed. Although some spends all the energy protecting and defending a self that doesn't really exist. But it's that mechanism wound up in the nervous system that has been going for many, many, many years, right? And just because you had this moment of seeing through, that mechanism doesn't just fall away. That identification with that story can be triggered, especially when within that story, that self, that energy, senses or perceives threat, for example, as an example. Or rejection, being pushed away, or being blamed, being projected upon. Especially blame, the defenses that come up to now prove the innocence. And all of the mechanisms that have been learned through the life to defend and protect that self, it's all natural. And every one of us has had our building of that development to find ways to deflect, to defend, to protect. Of course, it's survival. And up until the point of the stopping of the mind, where there is a direct seeing that what I actually am is this which is aware. And if I look for a self other than this which is aware, is nowhere to be found. And there cannot be two of what I am. I am this which is looking, is seeing. Yet when this is identified in the story, it's actually wearing the identification of the self in the story, is wearing that hat. And that's what we call identification. It's a false identification. It's not really, really, really who you are, right? It's not what you are. You are able to see the mechanism if you are present enough, if you are aware enough, if you are willing enough, if you are ready. You see the reactions. If you have space, you see. If you don't have space, you just are those reactions, just like a programmed automation that when the button is pressed, the automation runs. So when this moment of before and after, this experience, this direct experience of clear seeing, that I am this that is aware, when this has been seen, then it's the beginning of what I will call awakening. It's the beginning. It's an endless beginning. That moment of stopping and seeing, I would call it recognition. And then the awakening is going to move all through the system. The psychology, the psychological levels, the emotionality, the physicality, because there's no separation, right? And all of those patterns and those programs have a physical component. The body is wearing the structure of the story, is weaved in everywhere. So in the process of all of this coming undone, the awakening in the body, mind, all of that patterning, those reactions, those automated programs are going to be coming on the table. They're going to be coming right in front of you to be seen. But not to be seen from the one in the story who now sees this mechanism and then is like, oh, there's, something wrong with me and I need to fix it and I need to... that's relevant in some department and at a certain point. But to be seen from a free space of not becoming identified with that identification. So that patterning, that automation, a button gets pushed, a rejection, a blame, and automatically there is the movement to defend, let's say, as an example. Then from a space of being aware, there is like the noticing of this movement and all of that, and seeing the mind then go off in stories and doing what it does to justify itself. And in the same moment, there is space to see all of that. And this space of being aware does not become identified with the one who's trying to prove its innocence or defend and protect. So there is no identification with that identification. And this is really it can take years, you know, following that recognition, that initial recognition, or some like to call it awakening. I'll call it direct recognition, because awakening is an ongoing, as I said, endless beginning, in which there are many moments of expansion and experiencing. So sometimes you can have that recognition. You can be very, very clear about what you're not and what you really are, who you really are, that you are this that is aware. You are this that never comes and goes. You are this that remains after every story, after every passing feeling, thought, sensation. You are that which remains untouched, being here. This recognition can be very, very clear. And yet all of the play out of this undoing, of this automated patterning, is experienced separately. Like you're either in that or you're in that. It very often is like that in the beginning of learning to walk in this body mind from what has been recognized. So this not becoming identified with the identification when it's triggered and activated and playing out, sometimes this can take years to really get the point, like really get it, that the activation, the button pushing, there's an identification. There is a sense of me being touched. So what? This is happening within the space of what I am, and yet what I am doesn't need to become that. It is the space that welcomes all of what's being touched, just to be here in the freedom of the true meeting. I talk about this all the time. I am really passionate about the true meeting. And the true meeting, it really begins with the way that all of this is being met within our own system, the true meeting. Consciousness is meeting, directly experiencing in truth. And when we really meet ourselves in this way, it builds capacity. To meet the other. The other as in the apparent other, say, for example, can be the one who's pushed the button. Doesn't have to be, can be any. But let's say, for example, the one has pushed the button to bring about the true meeting in this dynamic. Are you able to meet in the midst of all this? I'm passionate about this. And it begins with the way you meet yourself. This is what builds capacity. So how do you meet yourself? How do you meet yourself when the buttons are pushed? Does the program run you? Does the story that's been activated take the dominant place? Do you then start running with the behaviors that come out of that activation? Or do you see it? Do you see those behaviors that belong to yesteryear that come out of that activation and stop? Don't move. Wait. Wait. Be the space. Here comes the rain. The rain. Yeah, so all of my meetings and retreats go in all these places in an in-depth way, diving into this directly experiencing. Yeah, it's just one of the facets. And it happens that I'm making this recording February the 2nd, 2026. And on February 7th, that's 5 days from now, I'm holding a one-day intensive called Next Level Capacity. You can find the link in description. By the way, please like and subscribe if you like this content. It helps it to get seen. And let me know in the comments what you'd like to hear more about. I also have a 6-day retreat coming up in April in the Algarve. And maybe you're watching this already a year later, and it will be exactly the right moment. But I invite you into this exploration. I have trainings coming up for facilitators and for all beings who truly value the integration of who one truly is, of who we are. The rain is coming, and I will continue with this in another moment. Thank you. If you watch this far, ciao.